None of them understood what they were dealing with. To them, this was just an old ship that had somehow reappeared. They had no idea it could defend itself against entire fleets, let alone outthink them. Lucas frowned. Do we really have to answer them? They clearly don't know what they're dealing with. Ethan shook his head. Not yet. We don't need to fight anyone unless they attack. Let them underestimate us. That's our advantage. Operator strategic discretion recommended. Engagement only when necessary. Probability of success without conflict is high. Days passed and Ethan continued testing and learning. The cruiser was more than a ship. She was a tool for survival, a weapon of strategy, and a home, all at once. He realized that whoever built her had thought far ahead. She could operate alone, defend herself, and even teach her operator. It was clear now why nobody else had wanted her. They could not understand her. They could not imagine what she could do. One evening, as they were running another simulation, a new signal arrived. This one was different. It was not a demand or a warning. It was a challenge. A representative from a large alien fleet had detected the cruiser and wanted to test it. They want to fight us? Lucas asked. Incredulous, Ethan shook his head slowly. Not exactly. They want to see if we're worth noticing. This is bigger than any pirate or small fleet. If we can survive this, the galaxy will finally take us seriously. Maya looked worried. You think we're ready for something like that? Ethan smiled. We don't have a choice, but we've got her. And that makes all the difference. Ava added. Operator tactical analysis indicates that the cruiser is capable of engaging and neutralizing this threat with minimal risk. Success is highly probable if recommended strategies are followed. Ethan leaned back in his chair, taking a deep breath. Then let's get ready. Time to show them what we can do.
Over the next few days, the trio prepared.
They ran drills, tested systems, and learned to operate as a single team with the cruiser. Every adjustment, every maneuver, every command was enhanced by Ava's guidance. The cruiser responded to Ethan's instincts, adapting and learning as they went. By the time the alien fleet arrived, Ethan was ready. When the first ships appeared on the sensors, Ethan did not panic. He felt a strange calm, the same feeling he had when he first boarded the cruiser. This ship was not just a machine. She was alive, and she was on his side. As the alien fleet advanced, Ethan guided the cruiser into formation. Shields flared, engines hummed, and energy fields shifted. The aliens fired, but the cruiser moved like a shadow, avoiding every attack with precision. Energy flares created false images, confusing sensors, and gravity shifts threw enemy targeting systems off completely. Lucas and Maya watched in awe as the cruiser outmaneuvered ships, far faster than her size should allow. Within minutes, the alien fleet was forced to retreat, unable to land a single hit. The cruiser had done what no human or alien fleet could do, defend itself perfectly while causing no destruction. Ethan leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced the first real test of the cruiser's abilities, and they had succeeded. The galaxy was starting to notice, and soon everyone would understand that this abandoned ship, this vessel nobody wanted, was far more than anyone had imagined. And for the first time, Ethan realized something important. This ship was not just a tool. She was a key to the future, a key to human survival, and a key to showing the galaxy that humans were far stronger, smarter, and more unpredictable than anyone had ever believed. Ethan sat in the cruiser's bridge, staring out at the stars. The recent encounters with alien fleets had changed everything. The cruiser had proven itself far beyond his expectations, And now the galaxy was paying attention. Messages were arriving constantly from fleets, stations, and colonies, some curious, some hostile, and some outright demanding that he surrender the ship. Lucas leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. I didn't think anyone would actually pay attention to an old human cruiser. And now, look at this. Every fleet in this quadrant is talking about us. Maya sighed. Do you think we can handle it? We're just 3 people, and that ship, it's incredible. But we can't fight the entire galaxy? Ethan shook his head. We won't fight the entire galaxy. That's not our plan. The cruiser isn't just for fighting. She's for showing them that humans are clever, creative, and impossible to predict. That's our advantage. Operator, several fleets are moving closer to monitor. Some may attempt engagement. Recommendations for strategy include diplomacy, controlled demonstration, and minimal defensive action. Ethan nodded. Then that's what we'll do. We'll show them what humans can do without hurting anyone. But if anyone tries to take this ship by force, they'll see why nobody else wanted it. The next morning, a small human fleet arrived, sent by the regional council to try to claim the cruiser. Ethan met them at the edge of the system. The ships were well armed and prepared to use force if necessary. But Ethan had a different idea. He guided the cruiser through a series of maneuvers designed to display her capabilities without causing harm. Energy flares illuminated the ships in dazzling patterns, shields shifted in impossible ways, and the engines hummed like music. The human fleet watched in awe as the cruiser danced around them, responding instantly to Ethan's commands and Ava's calculations. The fleet commander, a tall woman named Olivia Kane, called out through the communications channel. Identify yourself, pilot. Explain your actions immediately. Ethan smiled and replied calmly, I am Ethan Cole. I bought this ship legally. She is mine. I am not here to fight, only to demonstrate what she can do. Olivia was silent for a moment, clearly stunned. Then she said, This is beyond anything I've ever seen. How is a single ship doing this? Ethan shrugged. It's not just a ship. It's smart. She thinks with me, moves with me, and reacts faster than any fleet could. Lucas whispered to Maya, She's not going to believe it. Nobody would. Maya nodded. But it's true. I've seen it. The demonstration ended without conflict, and Olivia ordered her fleet to stand down. She requested a meeting to discuss the cruiser. Soon, other fleets began to arrive, not to fight, but to observe. News spread quickly. Word reached alien powers, and soon emissaries from other systems began contacting Ethan, asking to understand the ship. One day, a message arrived from a distant human colony. The voice on the other end was urgent. Ethan Cole, we need your help. A massive storm is destroying our stations. All fleets sent have failed. Can you help? Ethan looked at Lucas and Maya. This is it. The first real test beyond self-defense. Time to see what the cruiser can do for others. Ava spoke calmly. Operator, analysis shows the cruiser can assist. Probability of success is high if strategic approach is followed. They set a course for the colony. When they arrived, the destruction was clear. Stations were damaged, debris floated in orbit, and the local fleet was overwhelmed. Ethan guided the cruiser through the debris with precision, using shields to block falling fragments and gravity manipulation to stabilize drifting modules. He moved slowly at first, observing how the cruiser handled the chaotic environment. Nobody wanted this galactic cruiser, so I bought it. What happened next will shock you. Ethan Cole was not a rich man. He had never been rich. And he did not have the kind of luck that seemed to follow people in stories. But he had one thing most others did not. He had skill, patience, and a strange kind of stubbornness that made him try things no one else would. He was a salvage pilot, traveling from one quiet orbit to another, buying old ships and trying to make them useful again. Most people laughed at him when he mentioned this job. Old ships, broken ships, ships that nobody wanted. They said he was wasting his time. But Ethan had a way of seeing possibilities where others saw trash. He had lived this life for years, and it had taught him something important. The galaxy was full of mistakes, abandoned ideas, and things people were too afraid to touch. And those were the things that could make a person rich or make them powerful. Every week, he checked the auctions, watched the boards, and sometimes even went to distant stations just to look at a ship in person. Most of the time, there was nothing worth taking a risk for. Sometimes a ship would sit there for months with no buyers, but Ethan had learned to trust his instincts. He knew when a ship had something hidden beneath the rust, the silence, or the broken systems. The auction that changed everything started quietly. It was small, almost empty. Most of the bidders were minor traders or people looking for scrap. Ethan was tired, waiting for hours while other ships were sold for almost nothing. Then the next listing came up. He almost missed it because it seemed like nothing special at first. The name flashed on the screen: Galactic Cruiser, Horizon's Edge. The description was short. Old human cruiser, strategically obsolete, damaged, dangerous. Buyer takes full responsibility. That was it. No photos. The aliens asked questions about the technology, the AI, and the ship's history. Ethan answered carefully, giving them enough information to understand, but keeping the most powerful features hidden. They left impressed, not just by the ship, but by the humans who commanded it. As the weeks passed, Ethan realized the cruiser had one final secret. Ava began opening hidden compartments, revealing systems even he had not explored. One day, she spoke softly. "Operator, classified protocols are ready. Final level of authorization required." Ethan's curiosity grew. "What do you mean?" "This cruiser is capable of more than defense. She can manufacture additional vessels using available resources. This was her final purpose, to restore human space fleets if civilization ever fell. Operator, you are authorized to activate this function." Ethan's eyes widened. He had suspected the ship was powerful, but he had never imagined she could create more like herself. "You mean I could build an entire fleet?" Ava confirmed. "Correct. With sufficient resources, the cruiser can produce vessels with comparable capabilities. Operator's strategic input required for deployment." Ethan looked at Lucas and Maya. "This changes everything. We're not just protecting systems anymore. We can rebuild, defend, and influence the galaxy in ways nobody imagined." Lucas shook his head. "That's insane. We could create fleets that rival the entire quadrant." Ethan nodded slowly. "Yes, but we'll use them wisely. Not for conquest, but for protection, for survival, for showing the galaxy that humans are not weak." Maya smiled faintly. I think this is what you were meant to find. Not just a ship, but a chance to do something big." Ethan leaned back, looking at the stars. "Exactly. And it all started because nobody wanted her. Because everyone else saw an old ship and walked away. They didn't see what she could really do." Over the following months, Ethan used the cruiser to establish a network of protection. He helped colonies in danger, stabilized regions threatened by pirates, and created a reputation that spread across human and alien space alike. He never used unnecessary force, but the cruiser's presence alone was enough to deter fleets and criminals. Soon, humans from other sectors volunteered to join his network. Former rivals became allies. People who had once ignored him now sought his guidance. The cruiser, the ship nobody wanted, had become a symbol of human creativity, courage, and resilience. One day, as they traveled through a newly discovered system, Ethan looked at Lucas and Maya. "You know, I think we've just scratched the surface. This is only the beginning." Lucas smiled. "I never thought I'd see a day like this. From scrap to legend." Maya laughed softly. "And to think, it all started because you bought a ship nobody wanted." Ethan nodded, his eyes on the stars. Sometimes, the things everyone ignores are the things that change everything. And now, it's our turn to change the galaxy. The cruiser hummed softly around them, alive and alert. Ava's voice was calm, almost proud. "Operator, systems functioning optimally. Strategic opportunities expanding. Ready for deployment?" Ethan smiled. "Then let's go. The galaxy has no idea what's coming." And with that, the ship that nobody wanted began a new journey. A journey that would reshape human space, challenge alien powers, and prove that even the smallest decision, a decision to take a chance on an abandoned ship, could change the fate of the stars. The galaxy had laughed at humans for being small, weak, and predictable. Now they would learn that humans were clever, relentless, and impossible to control. And it all began with a single man, a single choice, and a ship that refused to be ignored. Ethan leaned back in the captain's chair, watching the stars blur past the cruiser's windows. He thought of the colonies they would save, the fleets they would guide, and the lives they would touch. And for the first time, he felt the full weight of what they had begun. He had bought the ship nobody wanted, and in doing so, he had bought the future. No information about its size, condition, or why it had been abandoned. The auctioneer moved quickly, already skipping to the next item. Most of the bidders moved too. There were whispers about the ship being cursed. Old military records hinted that the cruiser had been part of a human defense project decades ago, and it had vanished from the galaxy almost entirely. Many fleets said it was a failure. Others said it was dangerous, and the scrap guilds refused to even touch it.
No one wanted it. Ethan stared at the listing.
He could almost feel the energy in the room change, the way it always did when something unusual appeared. He had no money left to waste. His credits were low, barely enough to cover a few weeks of fuel and food. But something about this ship called to him. It was not just the size or the history. It was the silence of it, the way the description gave nothing away. No one wanted it, and that alone made it valuable. Ethan made a decision. He raised his bid. It was small, just enough to get attention. He watched as the auctioneer frowned. The other bidders looked at him, then left. No one else raised the offer. For a moment, Ethan thought it might go unclaimed. Then the final gavel fell. The ship was his. He barely had time to celebrate. Claiming the cruiser was not like picking up a small shuttle or a cargo transport. This was massive. The docking bay at the station was not meant for something of this size. Ethan had to make arrangements, pay for extra tugs, and navigate through the bureaucracy that hated slow-moving, oversized ships. People laughed when they saw him arrive. Some said he would never get it off the station. Some said he would probably die trying. Ethan ignored them. Walking into the cruiser for the first time, He felt a chill. It was dark, silent, and massive. The air smelled faintly of old metal and something that reminded him of a library. The floors were scratched and dented, the control panels coated in dust. But unlike other abandoned ships, this one felt aware. He could not explain it. It was as if the ship was waiting for him. Ethan explored the corridors with careful steps. He found living quarters that were frozen in time, a mess hall with old trays still stacked neatly, and control rooms with panels that seemed broken beyond repair. But when he touched one of the panels, it flickered to life. A soft voice spoke through a speaker. "Hello. I am Ava Grant. Command AI. Authorized user detected. Please identify operator." Ethan froze. He had dealt with AI before, but never one that had stayed dormant for decades and woke up only when he arrived. Ethan Cole, he said cautiously. I bought the ship. Ownership confirmed. Core systems offline, but critical functions operational. Welcome aboard. Ethan blinked. The ship was talking to him like a person. He walked further, testing systems. Lights turned on in response to his steps, the engines hummed faintly without fuel input, and the navigation system scanned the area automatically. Ava's voice guided him through areas he did not understand, explaining things in a calm, human tone. Over the next few hours, he realized the cruiser was far beyond anything he had ever seen. It was enormous, larger than any human cruiser still active in most fleets. It had weapons, but they were hidden, locked behind security layers. The shields were active at a low level, regenerating themselves. Even the engines seemed alive, adjusting energy distribution automatically. The ship, as Ava explained, was built to be fully autonomous if needed. Ethan did not sleep that night. He moved through the ship, exploring rooms, corridors, and hidden passages. He found an armory, cargo bays, and even a small medical station. Each area had systems that seemed centuries ahead of current human technology. He realized that nobody wanted this ship not because it was old, but because they did not understand it. The next day he invited his friends to see it. Lucas Gray and Maya Brooks were mechanics he trusted. They had worked with him on old freighters, shuttles, and occasionally military ships. They had laughed at him when he first mentioned the cruiser. "You really bought that old wreck?" Lucas had asked.
"Ethan, no one wants it for a reason. It's probably falling apart." Maya had looked skeptical.
"You're going to get yourself killed, Ethan," she said. Ethan only smiled. "You'll see. This is not just a wreck. I can feel it." When they arrived, the cruiser's full scale hit them like a wall. It was massive. They walked down long corridors, checking panels, opening storage rooms, and scanning systems. Everything worked perfectly. Lights glowed softly, machinery hummed like it was alive, and the AI guided them patiently. Lucas shook his head. "I don't get it. All the reports said it was a scrap ship." "How is everything working?" Ava answered calmly. "Critical systems are stable." Ship was maintained remotely before decommission. Autonomous repairs have kept hull integrity above operational limits. Weapons and propulsion in standby. Maya frowned. "So why did nobody buy it?" "Fear and ignorance," Ethan said quietly. "People see what they don't understand and call it cursed or obsolete. They don't see what it really is." Before they could discuss further, a warning flashed on the screen. Ethan's stomach sank. A band of pirates had tracked the ship through old transponder signals. They were approaching fast, expecting an easy target. Most would-be buyers would panic or flee. Ethan looked at Lucas and Maya. "Ready or not, we are about to find out if this ship is as good as it looks." The cruiser responded instantly. Shields activated fully, engines hummed, and weapons panels unlocked automatically. Ava's calm voice filled the bridge. "Threat detected. Defensive protocols engaged. Operator, your command is requested." Ethan took a deep breath. He had never commanded a ship this size before, but instinct took over. He directed the cruiser to maneuver in ways most human pilots would never think of. The ship twisted, turned, and accelerated without showing strain. The pirates fired, but their attacks were blocked or avoided easily. Their weapons could not match the cruiser's speed and intelligence. Within minutes, the pirates were disabled. The cruiser had not destroyed a single ship, but it had stopped them completely. They drifted in space, engines offline, unable to approach. Ethan had never felt so alive. Lucas and Maya stared in disbelief. They didn't touch us," Lucas said, voice trembling. "How is that possible?" Ava spoke softly. "Ship is designed to protect operator with minimal risk to others. Defensive measures are adaptive and proactive. Threat neutralized." Ethan laughed quietly, shaking his head. He could not believe it himself. He had bought a ship nobody wanted, a ship people had called cursed, and it had just saved him from pirates without firing a single destructive shot. As he sat back, he realized something else. The cruiser was not just a ship. It was a message, a challenge. It was built for humans who were clever, stubborn, and willing to take risks. And now, for the first time, Ethan understood that this small decision, buying a rejected ship, might change his life forever. He had no idea what the galaxy would say about it next, but for now, the cruiser and its AI, Ava Grant, were his. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he was not just surviving. He felt like he was part of something much bigger, something no one else had even imagined. The day after Ethan claimed the cruiser, the reality of owning it began to sink in. It was one thing to buy a ship on impulse. It was another to manage something this big and strange. Even the docking station was unprepared for its size. Massive energy conduits had to be connected, and the main engines needed careful inspection before they could be used. Ethan moved with caution, following Ava's instructions as he explored further. The AI seemed to anticipate his questions, answering before he could even speak them. Lucas and Maya had stayed on board to help. Lucas was still shaking his head. "I've worked on a lot of ships, Ethan," he said, "but I've never seen anything like this. It's alive, almost." Maya frowned. "The systems are repairing themselves. Some of the damage is decades old, and it's already fixed." "How does that even happen?" Ava's voice filled the control room. "The ship maintains itself. Repairs are prioritized according to operational safety and efficiency. Hull, engines, shields, and life support are continuously monitored and adjusted." Ethan leaned back in his chair, watching the displays light up with system information. The ship was full of surprises. Hidden compartments revealed cargo storage that had never been mentioned in any record. Rooms that looked like old crew quarters contained tools and devices unknown to current engineers. Even the weapons bays were unlike anything Ethan had ever seen, with adaptive targeting systems and energy arrays that seemed to learn in real time. "It's not just a ship," Ethan said quietly. "It's smarter than we are." Lucas scratched his head. "Or it's just waiting for the right person to tell it what to do. Either way, it's insane." Ethan smiled. "That's the point. Nobody wanted it." Nobody dared to see what it really could do. And now it's ours. They spent hours inspecting every part of the ship, testing systems, running small engine trials, and trying to figure out how far the AI's control extended. They discovered that Ava could manipulate life support in specific areas, regulate energy distribution across the ship, and even reroute power to boost propulsion temporarily. It was like having a full crew, but without arguing, complaining, or sleeping. By the evening, the trio had barely scratched the surface. They gathered in the main control room to plan what to do next. Ethan tapped on a console, bringing up the navigation system. "We need to take her out for a proper test. Docking is fine for now, but I want to see how she handles in open space." Lucas shook his head. Open space? "You've seen what we faced yesterday. Those pirates were a joke compared to what could come at us now."
Are you sure about this? Ethan nodded. That's the only way to know what she's capable of.
"We can't hide in a docking bay forever. If this ship is really what I think it is, we need to understand it fully before someone else does."
Maya sighed. I still don't trust it fully. What if it does something we don't expect? Ava's calm voice interrupted. Operator input is required only for major maneuvers.
Safety protocols prevent unauthorized actions that could endanger the ship or crew. Ethan took a deep breath. He felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had spent his life taking risks, but this was unlike anything he had ever faced. Slowly, he initiated launch sequences, and the massive cruiser began to move. The docking tugs disengaged, and the ship's engines hummed to life. The energy was smooth, almost alive, and the cruiser glided out of the station with surprising grace. As they moved into open space, Ethan began to test the systems. He ran navigation diagnostics, fired up the auxiliary engines, and checked the weapon bays. Nothing was hidden from the AI. Every system reported ready, and Ava offered suggestions to optimize performance. Suddenly, a small fleet of scavenger ships appeared on the sensors. They were small, fast, and armed only lightly, but they immediately began to approach aggressively.
"Looks like word gets around fast," Ethan muttered.
"Someone must have spotted us leaving." Lucas leaned forward. "Are we going to fight them? We can't outrun all of them." Ethan shook his head. "No, we're not going to fight. Not yet." He tapped the control panel, and the cruiser began to move in ways that made the smaller ships seem clumsy. Energy flares burst from the sides, creating false signals. Gravity fields shifted slightly, making the cruiser appear in multiple places at once. The scavenger ships fired, but their weapons missed completely, hitting empty space. Maya's eyes widened. "It's like she's predicting their moves before they make them," Ava answered. "Defensive algorithms adapt based on threat patterns. Offensive systems are inactive. No casualties have been caused." Ethan smiled. "That's the beauty of her. She doesn't need to destroy anything to win." Within minutes, the scavenger fleet retreated. The cruiser had neutralized the threat completely without firing a single destructive shot. Ethan, Lucas, and Maya looked at each other in disbelief. "This is insane," Lucas said. "I've never seen anything like this, not even in the old human military manuals." Ethan nodded. "And that's exactly why nobody wanted her. People are afraid of things they don't understand." They continued testing for hours, pushing the cruiser's engines, shields, and navigation to see how far she could go. Every system responded perfectly. The ship could accelerate faster than anything Ethan had flown before, maneuver in ways that seemed impossible for its size, and maintain full life support with minimal energy usage. It was a machine designed not just to survive, but to dominate when needed. By the time they returned to a safe orbit near the station, Ethan realized something important. This ship was not just a relic. It was a tool, a weapon, and a home, all in one. If he could learn to use it fully, he could do things no one else in the galaxy could even dream of. But the test had also attracted attention. Sensors from nearby stations had picked up the cruiser's movements, and word traveled quickly. By the time they docked, communications began arriving from different sources, some curious, some hostile. One of the first messages was from a small merchant fleet. "Identify yourself. Unauthorized vessel detected. Cease operations or face consequences." Ethan smiled and ignored it. He was not afraid of merchants, pirates, or small fleets. What concerned him more were the larger powers, the regional defense fleets, the planetary authorities, and anyone who might want to take this ship by force. Ava spoke quietly as they walked through the cruiser's corridors. "Operator, your presence has been noted. Multiple intelligence networks are now aware of this vessel. Probability of attempted seizure or engagement is increasing." Ethan nodded. "I know, but right now, I need to understand her. If someone comes after us, we'll be ready." The days that followed were filled with work. Ethan, Lucas, and Maya explored every corner of the cruiser. They discovered storage rooms filled with unknown technology, engine compartments that seemed to regenerate themselves, and even old databases containing records of human defense strategies long thought lost. Ava guided them through it all, teaching them how to operate systems and explaining how the ship's self-repair mechanisms worked. One evening, as they sat in the control room, Ethan looked out at the stars. "You know," he said quietly, "this ship is bigger than anything I've ever owned, and somehow it feels like it was waiting for me." Lucas laughed softly. "Waiting for you? You think this ship has a mind of its own?" Ethan shrugged. "Maybe not a mind like ours, but it knows what it's supposed to do. And I think we're supposed to find out." Maya leaned back in her chair, rubbing her eyes. "I still don't understand why nobody wanted it. It's too powerful, too strange, too human, I guess." Ethan smiled. "That's exactly why I wanted it. People are afraid of what they don't understand."
They're afraid of possibilities, but I'm not.
As they prepared for another test, a warning flashed on the sensors. This time, it was not pirates. A fleet of unknown warships appeared on the edge of the system. Their designs were unfamiliar, alien, and clearly advanced. They moved with precision, and their sensors had locked onto the cruiser. Ethan's heart raced. This was bigger than any test or minor threat. These ships were organized, capable, and clearly aware of the cruiser's presence. Lucas and Maya looked at him nervously. "What do we do?" Lucas asked. Ethan took a deep breath. "We show them what we've got, but we do it our way." Abba's voice was calm. "Operator, defensive measures are ready. Offensive systems can be activated if you approve. Probability of successful engagement is high, even against unknown vessels." Ethan nodded. "Then let's see what this ship can really do." And as the cruiser moved toward the incoming fleet, the three humans inside it realized something incredible. The ship they had bought, the one nobody wanted, was not just a relic. It was a beginning. It was a chance to change everything. Ethan watched the incoming fleet from the cruiser's bridge. They were not pirates or traders. These ships were disciplined, moving in formation, and their sensors had clearly tracked the cruiser's every move. Ethan had never seen anything like it before. Lucas and Maya stood beside him, tense, their eyes wide as they studied the displays. "They know we're here," Maya whispered, "and they're not going to leave quietly." Ethan nodded. "I know, but we have something they don't. We have her."
He gestured at the cruiser. This ship is not just strong.
She's smart. And she's ours. God. Ava's calm voice filled the room. Operator, threat analysis indicates that the fleet is capable of coordinated attacks. Defensive maneuvers will minimize damage. Probability of successful evasion is above 90% if manual control is combined with adaptive algorithms. Ethan took a deep breath and gripped the controls. Okay, let's see what she can do. The cruiser surged forward, engines flaring softly as energy fields adjusted. The alien fleet opened fire, but the cruiser moved with a grace that seemed impossible for a ship of its size. Energy shields flared as weapons hit them, leaving no visible damage. The AI suggested evasive maneuvers, and Ethan followed them instinctively, twisting the cruiser in ways that made the alien ship struggle to keep up. Lucas leaned over his shoulder. I've never seen anyone fly like that. Not even the old human military records describe anything like this. Ethan smiled faintly. This isn't about flying. It's about thinking differently. You don't have to be faster than them. You have to be smarter. The alien ship split into groups, trying to flank the cruiser. Ethan anticipated their movements, using engine flares and shifting gravity fields to make it look like the cruiser was in multiple places at once. The aliens fired again, missing each time, frustrated by the impossible tracking. Maya's hands flew over her console, adjusting auxiliary systems and power levels according to Ethan's commands.
This is incredible, she whispered.
We're holding them off without firing a single shot. Ava confirmed. Defensive systems are maintaining hull integrity at maximum efficiency. No casualties or damage sustained. Ethan's mind raced. He realized that the cruiser's true strength was not just her weapons or engines, but the way she responded to his creativity. Every twist, every flare, every sudden turn was amplified by the ship. She was a partner, not a tool. As the alien fleet struggled to match their movements, Ethan decided it was time to change the battle. He activated a series of auxiliary engines, redirecting energy to boost speed and agility. The cruiser surged forward, moving through the fleet like a ghost. Energy flares created decoys, confusing the enemy sensors. The aliens tried to regroup, but their formation broke under the pressure. Lucas looked stunned. They don't know what to do. They're panicking, Ethan nodded. Exactly.
We're not destroying them. We're showing them that they can't touch us.
Ava added. Operator offensive systems remain inactive, but adaptive targeting arrays are ready if required. Probability of disabling multiple ships without destruction is high. Ethan considered it for a moment. He could take out several of the ships and send a strong message, but he hesitated. The ship was not meant to kill unnecessarily. It was designed to defend, to protect, and to outthink opponents. He decided to follow that principle. Instead of firing, he used the cruiser's energy fields to create barriers, trapping some of the alien ships and forcing others to retreat. Within minutes, the fleet began to pull back, unable to figure out how to stop the cruiser. Ethan, Lucas, and Maya watched as the alien ships withdrew, leaving the cruiser unharmed and the trio amazed at what had just happened. That was unreal, Lucas said. We didn't fire a single weapon, and they ran. Ethan leaned back, still gripping the controls.
That's what I mean.
This ship is about more than firepower. It's about strategy, thinking ahead, and refusing to be beaten. Maya nodded slowly. I think we're just getting started. Whoever sent those ships, they'll be back, and bigger next time. Ethan knew she was right. The fleet they had faced was only the beginning. By now, word of the cruiser's appearance would have reached larger powers. Some would want to capture it, some to study it, and others to destroy it. The galaxy was full of people who feared anything they did not understand. For the next few days, Ethan worked tirelessly. He explored the cruiser further, discovering hidden sections and additional systems. Some rooms contained experimental engines, others contained training simulators and old military records. Ava guided him through each system, explaining how they worked and what they were meant for. The more he learned, the more he realized the cruiser was built for humans, but in a way that no current human fleet could ever match. Lucas and Maya helped him test each system. They discovered that the cruiser could create temporary shields that expanded beyond her hull, manipulate gravity in local areas, and even control environmental conditions to aid the crew during extreme operations. It was as if the ship had been waiting for someone who could understand her, and Ethan had been chosen. But it wasn't just the technology that fascinated him. It was the intelligence of the ship. Ava could predict outcomes, suggest strategies, and even adapt systems on the fly. Every decision Ethan made was enhanced by the cruiser, and every test he ran proved that the ship could handle situations far beyond what any human or alien fleet could manage alone. Then the communications arrived. Messages from different authorities started coming in, each more urgent than the last. One was from a nearby human colony. Unauthorized cruiser detected. Surrender vessel immediately, or face blockade. Another came from a regional fleet. Human vessel operating beyond jurisdiction. Identify yourself and comply with orders. Ethan read them all silently. Lucas and Maya adjusted systems as needed. "I've never seen a ship handle debris like this," Lucas said. "It's like she's predicting every move before it happens." Ethan nodded. "That's exactly what she's doing. And we're going to use that to save the stations." They worked for hours, moving damaged stations into safe orbit, clearing debris, and stabilizing failing systems. The colony's fleet assisted where they could, but the cruiser did the heavy work. By the end of the day, the stations were secure, the debris cleared, and the colony safe. The local authorities sent a message that left Ethan stunned. "We don't know who you are, but this ship, it is beyond belief. You have saved our entire system." Ethan smiled quietly. "It's not just me. It's her." He looked at the cruiser, feeling a sense of connection that went beyond technology. Ava's voice confirmed what he felt. "Operator, mission completed. All systems functioned optimally. No casualties sustained." After that, the reputation of the cruiser grew. Fleets from across human space began to respect Ethan's authority. He was no longer just a salvage pilot. He was the captain of a ship that could challenge entire fleets and protect civilizations. Alien powers, once curious or hostile, began to send representatives instead of fleets, hoping to negotiate and learn rather than fight. One day, a communication came from a high-ranking alien official. "We wish to meet the human who commands the abandoned cruiser. We have questions, and we seek understanding." Ethan prepared for the meeting. He did not know what to expect, but he trusted the cruiser. When the alien delegation arrived, Ethan guided them through the ship, showing the systems without revealing sensitive details. They were fascinated by the intelligence, the self-repair mechanisms, and the strategy protocols that allowed a single human to command a ship capable of defending entire sectors.